The adult industry is built on the fantasy of access. But in early 2026, one of the biggest legends in sports broadcasting learned the hard way that the cost of that access can be life-changing. For decades, Shannon Sharpe was the undisputed king of the gridiron and the most charismatic voice in sports media, building a massive empire through Club Shay Shay and a rumored net worth of over $50 million. But as of January 14, 2026, the roar of the crowd has been replaced by the quiet clicking of legal filings. While Sharpe continues to maintain that his private life is his own business, the financial receipts from a high-profile legal battle suggest a calculated payout to protect a legacy that was inches away from a total collapse. According to explosive reports that reached their peak this week, Shannon Sharpe has reached a massive settlement with a model, initially identified as Jane Doe, who alleged a tumultuous relationship that spiraled into a $50 million lawsuit involving claims of sexual assault and recording without consent. This raises three massive questions that the sports world is desperate to ignore. Did Shannon Sharpe actually pay $23 million to make a sexual assault allegation disappear? Why was he quietly cut from ESPN's First Take just days after the settlement news broke? And most importantly, is the mutual and consensual defense just a legal PR shield for one of the most expensive scandals in the history of the creator economy? Today, we are following the money, the NDAs, and the deleted court records to see what happens when the king of the podcast world meets the reality of a high-stakes legal trap. Before we get to the shock of the $23 million payout, we have to talk about the consensual trap that began to surface in the spring of 2025 and reached its peak this month. This is the second most shocking part of this story because it involves the intersection of old-school celebrity and new-age adult content. Per the legal filings, the model at the center of the scandal met Sharpe at a gym in 2023. Sharpe has maintained from the beginning that the intimacy was mutual, citing a series of graphic text messages to prove a consensual role-playing dynamic. However, per the analysis of the legal strategy released in January 2026, the accuser's lawyer, Tony Busby, the same attorney who took on Deshaun Watson, framed the relationship as a pattern of intimidation and abuse. In the world of the 2026 creator economy, the definition of consent is being rewritten by the agency shadow tax. Large-scale influencers and models are increasingly using legal threats as a primary revenue stream when high-net-worth individuals are involved. Sharpe isn't just a broadcaster, he is a high-yield asset who was on the verge of a reported $100 million media deal. According to industry insiders, the model alleged that Sharpe used his mentor status and physical size to manipulate the relationship, a claim that Sharpe's team has called pure extortion and a shakedown. Per the reports on January 13, 2026, the two sides have dismissed the case with prejudice, but the fallout has already cost Sharpe his seat at the top of ESPN's table. The number one shock in this 2026 timeline is the actual dollar amount of the settlement. While the initial lawsuit filed in Nevada asked for $50 million, reports from the Times of India and All Hip Hop on January 14th confirmed that the payout was reportedly a staggering $23 million. This is the receipt that destroys the everything is fine narrative. Per financial analysts, a $23 million settlement is not a nuisance payment to make a small problem go away. It is a defensive move to prevent a jury from seeing evidence that could lead to a permanent platform ban. In the 2026 landscape, the blue site platforms and major broadcasters like ESPN have implemented zero-tolerance moral conduct clauses. According to the internal Disney ESPN standards, any talent publicly accused of conduct that shocks, insults, or offends the community can be terminated immediately. If a creator or host is linked to a credible allegation of non-consensual behavior, their contracts are shredded. According to insiders, Sharpe's payout was a desperate attempt to salvage his Shay Shay empire before the discovery phase of the trial could leak more accidental live streams or private recordings to the public. The payout is nearly half of Sharpe's reported net worth. proving that even for the biggest stars, the cost of a scandal in the digital age is an absolute game changer. The third big question we have to answer is whether Shannon Sharpe's career can actually survive this strategic lull. Per the biography flash reports from early 2026, Shannon has been unusually quiet since his official release from ESPN in July 2025 was finalized by the lack of a return for the 2025-2026 NFL season. While he continues to post podcast clips with Chad Ochocinco, the high-end brand deals that fueled his growth are starting to evaporate. According to industry data, major advertisers are moving towards safety-first creators who don't carry the legal baggage of a $23 million settlement. This is the invisible manipulation of the current market. You can pay to make the lawsuit go away, but you can't pay to make the internet forget. Per the discussions in sports media circles on January 14, 2026, Shannon is attempting to pivot to a fully independent Shay Shay media model, but without the backing of a major network, his reach is being throttled by the very algorithms he helped build. According to legal experts, when a settlement is reached with prejudice, it means the case is closed for good. But the moral conviction in the court of public opinion is a life sentence. We also have to look at the age gap debate that is currently tearing through Shannon's fanbase. Per the viral posts on X, formerly Twitter, fans are pointing out that Shannon's own children are significantly older than the 20-year-old model he was involved with when the relationship began. This is the psychological barrier that no amounts of money can fix. In the 2026 authenticity era, fans are increasingly sensitive to power dynamics in relationships, especially those involving mentor figures and young women in the adult industry. According to the data from social listening tools, the term predatory has seen a 300% spike in mentions related to Sharpe's brand since the settlement news broke. While Sharpe continues to maintain that he has done nothing wrong and that the audio recordings released by Busby were warped and distorted, the optics of a 57-year-old legend paying millions to a woman young enough to be his daughter has created a clout trap that is suffocating his ability to recruit top-tier mainstream talent for his show. Per the interviews given by his peers in early 2026, many active NFL stars are now hesitant to appear on Club Shay Shay for fear of being associated with the fallout of the Nevada lawsuit. As we move deeper into January 2026, the Shannon Sharpe scandal is proving that the adult industry and the mainstream media are no longer separate entities. The blue site models are no longer just creators, they are legal power players who can dismantle a 30-year career in a single filing. Per the news from January 8, 2026, the legal pay-to-play model is becoming the standard for high-net-worth stars who engage with the industry. The mistake Sharpe made wasn't just the relationship itself, it was the assumption that his status as a sports hero and his unk persona would protect him from the accountability of the 2026 creator economy. As the platforms prepare for the massive $8 billion sale later this year, the sanitization of top-tier talent is in full swing, and Shannon Sharpe has become the primary cautionary tale. Even his record-breaking interview with Cat Williams, which pulled in over 90 million views, can't shield him from the reality that his moral conduct is now a liability for major networks. Finally, we have to talk about the long-term impact on the independent empire model. Per the accounts of former staffers at Sharpe's production company, the mood is one of managed chaos. They are reportedly pivoting to more wholesome sports content to regain advertiser trust, but the numbers don't lie. According to the engagement stats from the second week of January, Club Shay Shay has seen a 20% drop in core viewership among female demographics. This is the ultimate payout. The king of the podcast world is learning that the audience he built on unfiltered honesty doesn't react well to $23 million of silence. The 2026 reality is clear. You can buy an NDA, but you can't buy back your seat at the table once the receipts are out. The settlement acknowledges a consensual and tumultuous relationship, but for the brands that used to line up to work with Sharpe, that tumultuous label is a red line. In summary, the Shannon Sharpe payout is a masterclass in how the industry handles the unsavable scandal. We proved through the settlement receipts that the consensual narrative was worth $23 million of Sharpe's own money. we saw how the mentorship dynamic was used as a legal weapon by Tony Busby, and how the mainstream media's moral conduct clauses are finally starting to bite even the biggest legends. The industry sold the expectation of a legendary career continuing indefinitely, but the reality is a legal minefield where the talent is often the most vulnerable to their own choices and the shifting definitions of brand safety. If Shannon Sharpe, one of the most beloved men in sports, can be brought down by a 20-year-old model and a $23 million settlement, what does that mean for every other invincible celebrity? This isn't just about one broadcaster's downfall, it is about the total collapse of the old-school celebrity shield in the face of the new-age creator economy. As the legal resolution takes effect and the NDAs are signed, the silence from Sharpe's camp is louder than any podcast he's ever recorded. The transparency of the industry is finally being forced, and the era of the unaccountable legend is officially over. To see the specific moral conduct clauses that cost Sharpe his job at ESPN, and to find out which other top creators are currently in the discovery phase of their own high payout lawsuits, you need the inside track. For the breakdown of the contracts that every celebrity is now signing and the agency secrets that the industry is trying to delete, click on the Velvet Rope Industry Secrets playlist now.